Not so fast, Queen's Tarot. I see what you're doing. You don't even see what you're doing there. Okay, the seven swords, the seven rings of Saturn. I picked up that card that was at the base of the reading. Oh, coincidentally, that is the Seven of Wands. So, Seven of Wands here on Earth, going step by step. What's crowning him? The seven rings of Saturn. And look at his job, everything in between. Fascinating. And here I am now interrupting my edit of the edit. It's because when I finished this video last night, I was not given the green light to go ahead with this. I saw him like in a library in the stacks with the books reading, and I realized that was a message. There's something you're missing. You need to study, which is what I've now completed. And I'm going to end this video here and pick up at this next part that has to do with the seven. It's incredible. Okay, thanks you guys. I'm interrupting myself again with this reading because even though I thought I was finished with this reading, I kept getting the sense, like Kobe was like, no, it's not correct. I kept seeing him like in the stacks of a library with books, and now I'm realizing he's saying, you need to you need to study some more, look at something more closely. So that's why I did not, it's driving me crazy because I felt like it was missing something and I didn't know what it was, but now I know. And where is that Seven of Wands? I was just talking about the hardest part for him right now is the integration. The body, the soul, his etheric self. Here, being so close to his passing, that would be mind, body, and soul. So there's that integration aspect. Where I'm looking for the Seven of Wands before I go much further, because what I'm going to try to explain to you guys, it's pretty complex and it's not my area of expertise. It's the thing that I've wanted to do better. And apparently, Cubby is my teacher. Okay, it's right here all the time. So this is what's astonishing to me. I don't know, when I was doing that reading, I kept talking about the seven rings of Saturn. I didn't know that Saturn actually has seven rings, but it was coming through as I was talking about Saturn and the rings of Saturn. I kept calling these the seven rings of Saturn. His purpose, where he is between this earthly experience of the seven going to the seven with Saturn. What's at the base of it and what crowns him. Remember, I've told you that when we look at the midheaven, the top of a chart, in astrology we call that the midheaven, where the sun was the highest point in that day, what crowns a person. So think of this as the top and the bottom of his astrological chart. Here's the part that I missed. It's so important. Speaking of sevens, you know, I have talked about the ascendant in a chart, that when you're born, the sign that was coming over the eastern horizon, that's what gives you life. You take your first breath and ta-da, you're here, you're on this planet. It's kind of like that imprinting, that mapping that is imprinted into our bodies, the energetic structures that give us life here that kind of creates the inner astrological universal map within you. When people talk about the infinite you within, I think that's what they're talking about. I've told you guys maybe long ago about my experience when I was really, really, really sick. Around 2009, I was in the hospital. I was given some medicine for pain, which caused me to hallucinate, but that's where I met a guide. Her name, I called her Chironis. Gorgeous, beautiful. She started showing me the internal maps of the body, which looked like the universe. And I remember being so overwhelmed in that hallucination. And I was like, I'll talk to you later. You can talk to someone who gets it. You know, maybe someday I'll talk to you later. But this, in my hallucination, I was freaked out about what she was showing me because it was too huge. Well, here now we have Kobe Bryant. And this is what's going on. The ascendant gives you life in a body. And we have that at those astrological mapping magnetically imprinted in the body. I think this is what's behind migration patterns, or when like salmon go back to spawn or turtles go back to where they were birthed. The reason why they find that is because of that magnetic imprinting, right? So, the 7. Cubby's ascendant, 7 degrees Capricorn. The thing that gave him life. 7 degrees, 55 minutes. The 7. And there you have it. 3 7s are all about alliances. The 7 is evolving to another point, kicking it up to a higher gear. When Cubby passed, the south node, we have the north node and the south nodes. This little sign here that looks like that horseshoe, that's the north node. Down here would be the south node. It looks like this, except it's inverted. The north and the south nodes, when we have an eclipses, that's the marker. This is so abstract. If you have this sun, it's the intersection of the sun and the moon during the eclipse. I can't just explain it. We have the path of the sun going around, the earth going around the sun. The moon going around the earth. And as these things are going around the sun, when we have an eclipse, the nodes are where the Earth's path around the sun and the moon's ecliptic path with the Earth, they intersect. Okay? So we have an eclipse. It's the ecliptic path where these things intersect. But those are the nodes. You have a north node and a south node. The north node being where the new moon eclipse was. The south node where the full moon eclipse was. But it is not tied to the degrees of that eclipse. It's the marker of where those things intersect. Okay? It's the best I can explain it to you. So the north node is where we occupy our bodies and where we're going to. Okay, so when you have a new moon and you have a new moon eclipse and you're writing intentions and you're planting seeds, that's where you're growing to. The south node is where you've been. This is where you're letting go of stuff, where in your lifetime you've mastered those things. Perhaps in a previous life you've mastered those things. I'm one that thinks you have to have a really strong south node to help you launch more fully and completely into a north node task. There's a lot of debate about these things I'm just going to say that, okay? I'm not going to talk about the debate. So Cubby, this is his astrological chart. The sevens we know are so incredibly important to that which he's evolving to. The south node of the moon was conjunct the ascendant when he passed. The south node, I think, was about 8 degrees, 3 minutes. This ascendant is 7 degrees, 55 minutes. And the nodes work backwards, so it was approaching his ascendant. Just a moment. So the south node is also about letting go of things that we don't need anymore. There's a separation here, a separation and letting go of what's no longer needed. There's a complete mastery, and then as you go into your north node, to go that extra distance to as part of your path of where you're going. The south node conjunct the ascendant. It's if the ascendant is giving you life in a body, and a south node is about letting go, this is almost like, and this has to do with the ego and how you identify with yourself and who you are. When you're letting go of that, you're letting go of yourself, your identity, and you're letting yourself get lost in the other person, being of service to the other person, where that north node is. So Cubby was at a point in his life where, almost like a yogi, not needing to be tied down to the material things, but of getting lost into and being and having that Virgo sun being of service to the other, boosting other people up, being like a master teacher, just kind of like opening a portal with the gifts that they have to help the other. So this 7 on the ascendant is so important. On top of the ascendant at 7 degrees Capricorn, that's ruled by Saturn. Where is Saturn in his chart? All the way over here in the 8th house. It has to do with life, death, transformation, conjunct his life force, life-giving sun, his ego. Do you see how profound this is? This is certainly written in the stars. Part of his life experience was as a Capricorn to achieve the highest goals, to keep going the distance and break all those records, set new records, be a leader with the divine feminine. Hello? And to transform that life in service to the other. And that's where his fate, his North Node in the 8th house, life, death, transformation. I know people talk about issues that he had in his lifetime, lessons to be learned. Yes, 8th house transform, 8th house taboo subjects, 8th house having to do with sex, life and death, transform. He met the mark. He did what he needed to do here to transform those things and become enlightened. To the point where letting go of the physical, he did not need those things. He was purely a master. It was no longer about him. It was all about the others. And you come to that point, and in comes karmically fate. The South Node opens up. And there we go. I can only imagine that with the South Node in Capricorn, the Cancer Capricorn eclipses, the North and South Nodes have been here for a solid year. Yeah. I can only imagine with the South Node transiting his first house of self, how, here we go again. I can't lose my thought. How utterly divine and fulfilled this past year has felt for him in purpose for others. Creating a world, creating a structure, creating opportunities for those here. But he's a big spirit. He's big. He's huge. If we're going to take that to another level, we're talking beyond this world. We're talking about this universe that needs the entirety of it to be in balance to thrive, so that there's balance here, even on this planet, no matter how tiny we are. His Jupiter is there. In Cancer, that of family, the female, expansion, his defense of home, his defense of others, his defense of women, the divine feminine. He's a soldier. He absolutely taking his life, his purpose to another level right before our eyes, as painful as it is. I finally got to see, I've never followed him closely, which is kind of surprising to me because how much I enjoy sports. But like now I can see why, and I can see my entry points of energy with his chart, with my progressed chart with my son, it works so fluidly and so well with his as far as being a messenger and sharing information. I just started looking at his Instagram account of his life and seeing life through his eyes and what was important to put on his account. And I can feel that grief of him being lost, how devastating it is. But I have to pull myself back from that because once I go there, I have zero access to him. And so this week has been a magical week. I've been pulled back from so much, and I think it's because of this message that had to be delivered. I think that's why I've been dialoguing with Saturn, journaling about that, studying the Saturn-Pluto conjunction, taking that part. You know, I've been really kind of compulsive in those areas. I think it's because this was coming. This was coming. And so now this is definitely going to be at least 2 more videos because this part took so long. Is this okay? Okay, he's not looking at the books anymore. He's smiling. He's like, you got it. That's what had to be explained. That's what I was missing before. Okay, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, carrying on. Here we go. He's responsible for helping with that coding of the unit. That's why he's so freaking big and huge. And I know this sounds way out there, but this is where we went, and it makes sense because at the beginning of the month, maybe in December, is when I was journaling with Saturn. Saturn has been the taskmaster and has been like, you have to pay attention. You have to answer these questions. Oh my gosh, everything makes sense now because I've been doing so many not weird, but I never thought I would be going here with Saturn Pluto through the centuries. And how actually this Saturn-Pluto conjunction, it's a 33-year cycle that has everything to do with structure and power. If you want to, you know how I look at the lunations of a new moon, which in that cycle, and how that the quarter moons have the markers of how everything is organized here. If you want to think of a new moon as a Saturn-Pluto conjunction, there you go. It's a 33-year cycle. That's how new this is. Now, Toby's chart. Remember I said the sun is the center of our solar system. It gives life. He has Saturn at his back at 3 degrees 30 minutes. Virgo, in this 8th house of transformation. Life, death, transformation. Followed by his part of fortune in his north node. He was meant to do this. His soul expression with Saturn at his back. Saturn literally Saturn rules our bones. I just see Saturn being like his spine and like those, and like the rings of Saturn, like his ribs. I know this is weird. I'm just going to go with it because now I'm going much deeper than where we went in the past reading. But he was built for Saturn. His midheaven in Scorpio, look at Scorpio rules this 8th house of life, death, transformation. His 10th house, what's crowning him, the public skies over him, what he was aspiring to become. Uranus there, mover, a shaker, a really unique individual. Scorpio on the midheaven, so charismatic, so passionate, patient, authentic, guiding him. He was meant to do this. He was meant to do this. And so this is why it's hard for him right now, his journey where he's at right now. The Saturn-Pluto conjunction, all of this wasn't his calling. I think pre-birth, he knew, he saw the aspects that were coming, the big changes that were coming. And he had to take that Earth, the messages from Earth, what was going on, what we're going to need to transform the world into something new. So in the past, oh God. Because in the past he tells me he was dead. He died. Yes, we know he died. Which was leading to what? The 9 of Cups. The dream maker. The wish fulfiller. The satisfaction of, oh wait a minute, okay, so last time now I recall each of these cups, it's kind of like a duty that he has to do. I don't know what's in there. Oh, I think I remembered I did clarifiers on this. And it had to do with one of them was transformation. I mean, the temperance card. Gosh, I'm so mad that I missed that. Where's the temperance card? That was so important to that, the temperance card. Because he's truly what he has to do now with the Temperance card is like, I don't know what this is, but it has to do with blending stuff. Oh, and this is what went back to the Bronze Age, because he was around during the Bronze Age. How we created bronze and started tempering things and blending things. I don't know what bronze is made of. I can only think of the elements like maybe iron or a copper, or I don't know what that is. But the Bronze Age, that was the beginning of a new stage in evolution. And so this is what's coming. This is what happened, and this is what he has to work on now. You guys, it's really, 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 really hard work. Like, I don't want to have to do this work. It gives me almost a headache thinking about it. Like, I have pushed my brain cells to the limit tonight trying to figure out the stuff that's going on. I want to make sure I do it right. And so, this card, how do we see you, Kobe? It's the Ace of Swords. And when last time I was talking, it was like the Ace of Swords, like, you know, in that movie Kill Bill, where the Hattori Hanzo sword, you barely move it, and it's so sharp that you can hear that high-pitched metal just against wind. Well, this Ace of Swords, how we see him, it's almost like him cutting a sword through all of the galaxy, going through space-time, because it's almost like I'm here, and he's like assessing the old and kind of like cutting through for a new, not Bronze Age, but wherever we're going, it's like an assessment, and that's kind of like who he is. The environment is one of magician. Yes, this, I don't know how he does it. This is none of my business, but he is like the master temperance. Maybe this is where's his Jupiter? It's in the 7th house. We the people. Cancer, which has to do with home, defending home. Defending home. His galaxy, his home is bigger than just our little planet. This 10 of Pentacles where he is huge, and he is defending home. Do you understand that? And so he is assessing his big galactical home, blending information, and changing whatever it is he needs to change to defend home, because here this planet is also home to him and wants it protected. But something's got to take care of how everything is changing, you know, in the ethers of our universe, because the universe is still expanding. You know, I don't even know what speed we're traveling at in our galaxy, but I know that we're expanding, and the moon is moving so many like inches or feet away from Earth per year, because we're still expanding. He's part of that expansion part of being that pioneer, part of being that unique, revolutionary, visionary person at the top of his chart with Uranus. It's big stuff he's doing. And he told me there are more that are going to be joining him, because they're being called home to work on this project that requires such incredible precision. I mean, the Akashic records are Saturn's rings. Working with that, who would have thought? I didn't ever think of that. Well, I mean, I did, but I mean, who would? Someone would have to have a job with that now, right? Because apparently Kobe does. Okay, so I asked him, what is his hope? And his hope was, these were the rings again. Transitioning, he and his daughter. Getting it right, taking this information, these records, and going where they need to go, because they're also helping us here on Earth. She came to me, even though I just see her as like a little orb right now. Oh my gosh, she's a little bit more animated now, kind of as a little orb. But when I tuned into her energy and who she was, and I saw her as Pele, such a big, magnificent creature. She might even be older than him, but she is of this earth. The mythological Hawaiian goddess Pele of fire and the volcanoes. You know, again, volcanoes, life, death, transformation. That is a very scorpionic thing. The image I kept seeing of her was she was so big that as she was rising, you know, like Pele from the earth, it's like her hair was like an entire island of, you know, of lava. And so divine feminine, yeah, that's her. That is her. I'm just sitting here thinking about both of them, their passionate excitement, and where she was going with basketball and their passions reigniting. It's like they need to have that reignition to like open up all their senses and that much more, so that they could have a map of it here and see it. Okay, I can't even go further than that. But this is his hope, that they're together, and they're continuing on where they need to go. I did not ask him his fear, because I just didn't even want to know that. I asked him, like, what's next, and it's getting all of his agreements in order, wherever he is, with whomever he's working with, and with people here who are going to be leaving, really trying to get things organized. Oh my God, how total Virgo. Getting things organized, making decisions, making plans. With Saturn right there. And then he's got his part of fortune that has to do with the sun and the moon, and having good fortune to perform your magic, to doing what you need to do for your north node that's guiding you eclipse-wise, to where we need to go. It's all written in here. And then the final outcome, there you go. The Wheel of Fortune. The Wheel of Fortune in astrology is actually the part of fortune. So if you see my notes sometimes that I make this sign for Wheel of Fortune, so I don't have to write it out. This is very positive. This is where he is now, he has so much positive energy behind him. Where he's going, he is expanding with the universe like all of us. And then the Six of Pentacles was on the bottom of the deck. Oh, there's the Hermit card. Investigating the details. And he being charitable. Virgo is the servant, the compassionate servant. They are, you know, day-to-day details. Do this, do that. Let's work together. Teamwork. And that's what they're doing. He has work to do. He's already been called back, and that's what they're doing. And they're doing it for the better of all here in our galaxy. Remember, our planet, the grief that's here. I mean, where he is, he's so huge, so huge, so huge. I had commented, I think at one point, he was bigger than anything I had ever imagined Sandalphon, and same with his daughter. They're an incredible pair together. They are an incredible, incredible pair together. And so I'm just really flattered and honored that he took the opportunity to stop by. And I see how it's easy to talk with him and communicate and get that information. And I am really just so grateful that he stopped by. We're so grateful. Thank you, Cubby. Anytime. Anytime. Thank you. Thank you. I can only say thank you. He's like, it's pretty cool. So when I first saw him with him smiling like it's okay, it really is okay. It really is okay. The more grief that pours out there and the emotion, it's such an important energetic markers for him and all as they go about their work, because it's almost like we're beaming out a signal for those records so that, oh my gosh, that's what it is. This is co-creation. We are beaming out a signal in our grief. So if you're in grief, don't be ashamed of your grief. This is the common thread around the globe. Beaming out that grief to help tailor, refine the plans that need to be done for where we're going to go so he can slice through and recreate, help replan where we need to go. Saturn's rings, those are the records. This is such an incredible that I don't even have words to describe what's going on, but there's a team of them that are working on this, answering the call, because they knew ahead of time before they came here what had to happen, and they love the universe this much that they go back home. And so there's so much love here for all of you, and that's all that I have to say. So much love, so much love. It's okay. It's okay. And keep screaming and hollering about what you want, even if you're in your grief, because they need that information for the records. Okay. Thank you.